All rise to say the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge of allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, so we're going to do roll call, and we need a motion to excuse Mayor Hoffey.
Okay, we'll do roll call first. Shoemaker?
Aye.
Vaughn?
Aye.
Poland? Hofstadter?
Aye.
Khan?
Aye.
Kellogg?
Yes.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second. Khan.
Vaughn?
Aye.
Khan?
Aye.
Shoemaker?
Aye.
Poland? Hofstadter?
Aye.
Kellogg?
Yes. So we'll move on to the community spotlight, and the first I'll be reading the Tree City Proclamation. Whereas in 1872, J. Sterling Morton proposed to the Nebraska Board of Agriculture that a special day be set aside for the planting of trees. And whereas this holiday, called Arbor Day, was first observed with the planting of more than 1 million trees in Nebraska. And whereas Arbor Day is now observed throughout the nation and the world. And whereas trees can reduce the erosion of our precious topsoil by wind and water, cut heating and cooling costs, moderate the temperature, clean the air, produce life-giving oxygen, and provide habitat for wildlife. And whereas trees are a renewable resource giving us paper, wood for our homes, fuel for our fires, and countless other wood products. And whereas trees in our village increase property values, enhance the economic vitality of business areas, and beautify our community. And whereas trees, wherever they are planted, are a source of joy and spiritual renewal. Now, therefore, and it's Kelly Hoffey, but obviously I'm impersonating her tonight, Mayor of the Village of Millersburg, do hereby proclaim April 25, 2025 as Arbor Day in the Village of Millersburg, and I urge all citizens to celebrate Arbor Day and to support efforts to protect our trees and woodlands. And further, I urge all citizens to plant trees to gladden the heart and promote the well-being of this and future generations, dated this 14th day of April 2025. Moving on to the community events. I'll just read what's going on for the rest of April. So obviously April 25th is the Arbor Day tree planting at the Millersburg Elementary School at 1:15. And then on April 26th, the Holmes County Historical Society has their Kentucky Derby tea, and then there's more things for May and June. The bicentennial, I'm not really, the mayor knows, can update more on that at the next meeting. And then we have visitors. So I don't know if anyone wants to address council tonight. Any visitors? Okay. So then we're going to move on to the minutes for the March 24, 2025 meeting. I need a motion to suspend the reading of the minutes.
I so move.
Second.
Shoemaker?
Aye.
Poland? Vaughn?
Aye.
Hofstadter?
Aye.
Khan?
Aye.
Kellogg?
Yes. And then any changes or motion to approve the minutes?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes. Khan.
I'll second.
Khan?
Aye.
Hofstadter?
Aye.
Shoemaker?
Aye.
Vaughn?
Aye.
Poland? Kellogg?
Yes. Moving on to resolution 2025-9, payment of the bills totaling $232,036.37. Need a motion to approve payment.
So moved.
I'll second. Khan.
Vaughn?
Aye.
Khan?
Aye.
Shoemaker?
Aye.
Poland? Hofstadter?
Aye.
Kellogg?
Yes. Moving on to reports of officers. So first up is Nate, Administrator.
Real quickly, I will bring back, Kelly gave me an update or a reminder for the bicentennial. If you haven't voted on the coloring contest yet, please do so. She kept keeping it open one more week. Paperclip, your top 5. From,
I assume if they were attached already that you didn't need to do anything. They were paper clipped.
I think that was somebody else's vote.
Yeah, your top 5, if you come in to vote, your top 5, you'll put along with the others that are paperclip. Those are kind of everybody's top 5. Does that make sense?
Right.
Per grade level.
And the ones that are paper clipped are good with me,
Yes,
so that.
those are the ones that
Yeah,
somebody.
so if we're okay
Yes.
with those,
Yeah.
I see.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
I just want to make sure you did it right.
And Bobby's my proxy.
Okay, that works.
All right, moving on. Design Review Board approved certificate of appropriateness applications for window replacement at American Hall. A couple signs requests from Urban Farm Girl Modern Farmhouse. Look forward to them opening up. Glad to have you here, Tracy. And then we've got a wellness and family medicine moving into Blair Bauer's old office. They got their signs approved. Planning and zoning recommended a change of zoning district for JDM rentals on 440 Marchant Street. Request is from R3 to SU to allow for triplex, on the vacant lots there. So the next step in this process would be a public hearing. The earliest date we could do that is May 26th. Is that agreeable? 6:45?
That's fine.
Okay, we'll get that advertised. There's also 2 fence variance requests, both for height restrictions. Fairs at 336 South Alexander and Patterson at 615 Elm Street, those were both approved. Chad, was there discussion at that meeting about possibly amending the zoning code to remove that restriction, or was that, I can't remember who mentioned it.
I
Did you ask me?
I asked a question about 3 feet, but if, I understand that when you're in a corner, you're in a situation where there could be road blockage, so you
Yeah.
probably have to keep it at that just for that
Yeah.
situation.
Okay,
That makes sense.
okay. So we'll
And I
just,
will let you know, most other communities, that's usually about right in
yeah,
there.
front yard is 3
Front,
foot
yeah, for
Yeah.
height.
traffic.
Okay. Worcester Road, there is a little bit of work, the Jones Street intersection, there's a little bit of work going on there. Slowly but surely they're getting there. Hopefully we'll pick it up here soon. Nothing on our sidewalks or the post office crossing. Pomeranians crossings, we're getting those ordered. They should be in a couple weeks, I would think, and then we can get those installed. You guys had asked for referrals or references for the traffic signals, the Curex camera system. There was a letter attached to your packets from the city of Findlay. Pathmaster indicated they'd sent out multiple requests. That was just the only one they got, so I wanted to get that to you as soon as we can. So we'll wait and see if we get a couple more in. Already mentioned the Tree City Arbor Day program at the elementary school, first graders, 25th at 1:15. We are working with Baker Surveying and Rhonda Steimel. I think I talked about this last meeting. There's some back and forth on how they're wanting the property to be offered for auction, but the entire property has to be surveyed anyways, so they are working on that. I'm optimistic we'll get the easement survey and inscription relatively soon. We'll get that all prepared and then presented to you guys for approval. It's happening in conjunction but kind of independent of the auction, so if that made sense. We do have a airport park use request. BCF is requesting permission to hold their annual Easter egg hunt. They've been doing this for quite a few years now. April 16th, so Wednesday night from 4:30 to 7:30.
I'll make a motion to approve that.
Hofstadter?
Aye.
Poland? Shoemaker?
Aye.
Vaughn?
Aye.
Khan?
Aye.
And Kellogg?
Yes.
The Park and Cemetery Committee meeting, there's minutes from that meeting in there. We can further discuss those under committee reports, but I just wanted to, I guess, bring to the forefront, we're kind of up against a deadline if we do want to go forward with purchasing a piece of equipment that we had appropriated money for. I can pass these around. There's a quote and a couple color pictures of what's proposed for the park. yeah, I don't need a decision right now. We can talk about it at the committee report section if you want. But that's what we're looking at buying. The ODOT salt contract we received the beginning of this month, and it's due back May 2nd, of course, so that's why it's an emergency on our agenda tonight. We do plan on purchasing 250 tons. Then I'm working on a couple of annexations. We've had kind of interesting. They both came in last week. We go a long time with nothing, and then all of a sudden we get a couple. Jordan Properties is the group home across from Meadow Glen. They've been having utility issues out there, so we're working with their engineer on a sanitary sewer connection, and that would include annexation since they're already contiguous. And then the new owner of 54-acre HIP property up on 241 called in, and we had a pretty long discussion about benefits of annexation. He's looking at a potential residential development, so he's going through pricing on private versus public and pros and cons. So maybe we'll be able to work something out there and get some more housing in town. I believe that's all I have for now. Thank you.
Okay. So Chief,
The only thing I have is update on the cruiser. It's up in Worcester now, getting graphics on, so hopefully by the end of the week I'll have it in service.
thank you. Then Bobby.
All right, looks like everybody acknowledged the March financials, so thanks for that. The other thing that I have on here to talk about now is that I thought maybe it would be helpful to make kind of a guide for committee chairs, just to kind of help you guys stay on track, especially those who are new to it. That was in the packet, so I don't know if you had a chance to take a look at it. It is not, you know, the guidelines on there, the steps and the before meeting, during meeting, after meeting, those are just suggestions. But if anybody has any suggestions, any changes that they'd like to see, if anybody found any typos, let me know that. And if you guys would like to use this, I especially think the communication form is a really good idea, because each committee chair can do things just slightly different. Some committee chairs take and make sure that their whole committee is emailed. You know, they may do that, email the committee and to let them know of the meeting and maybe even the reminder of the meeting. But I'm happy to do that for you guys as long as I know to do it. And this is also a way for me to be sure too that we get the next meeting scheduled and that gets published in a timely manner according to when we need to get it published. So I thought this form would be really helpful for both, hopefully both you committee chairs and also for me, selfishly, a little bit. So any questions about that? You guys see yourselves using it? Think it's something that'll work?
Do you have that in electronic format that you can send? Electronic format that you could send it out?
Sure, yeah. I can just scan this in as a PDF and scan it out to each of you guys.
Do you have it in Word? Did you do it in Word?
I can do it in Word, yeah, make it like a fill-in for you,
Yeah.
yeah. Mhm.
I like it.
Yeah.
I thought it was a good idea.
Okay, so I'll get that all done and get a copy of that sent out to everybody and use it and keep communicating. The only other thing I have is something for executive session, and that's about hiring a public employee, so we'll talk about that later.
You're good, Bobby? Okay, so next is solicitor. So Bob, anything for us?
Yeah.
Okay.
First of all, I'm going to read this so that I'm very precise. The lawsuit, Maurice Mann versus the Village of Millersburg, may be coming to a close. The final disposition will not be known for a little while, but it should be known for in about 30 days. I can't inform you of the specifics, but I think you will agree that it's in the best interests of the village whenever you hear the details. And it will result in no financial burden to the village at all. So that's that. I wanted to give you an update on the lawsuit involving the trailer park. The lawsuit was filed, we were named as a defendant. We have to file an answer to set up our claims on our water and sewer liens, which by the end of this month will be about $50,000. The receiver has been appointed. His name is Ron Roman, and his agent, who will be the person, the boots on the ground down at the trailer park, is Aaron Davis. And he's already been down there and he's made contact with, he thinks, all the residents except for 10, explaining to them what's going to happen. They are fixing the water leaks, and I guess there are 2 sewer leaks also that need to be addressed. He will, take care of that. They're putting 3 dumpsters down there for the residents to put their trash in, and he's arranged all that with Kimball, and so that's going to happen. He's also working on having the residents clean up their own lots, and anything that is left out then will be considered trash, and they'll just pick it up and throw it away, and all the residents will be informed about that. All the rent money is being sent to the receiver as opposed to the owner, which we wanted to make sure that happened. So that was a little bit of a mix-up because the residents didn't know what to do, and so actually we had some of them who wouldn't even trust the mail to bring in their checks to Mary Schaefer, and then Mary gave them to the receiver. I don't think that's going to have to continue because they're setting up the software and the app and all that sort of thing the way they used to pay before, so they're used to that. And I don't think Mary will have to be burdened with that in the future. But yeah, we've been able to work together very closely. Hopefully, and just so you know, what the receiver is, the receiver acts just like the owner and has every power that the owner has, but has to do everything with the approval of the court. So what the receiver is going to do now is to do things like clean up the trash, fix the water leaks, fix the sewer leaks. The receiver is going to board up the 17 trailers down there that we were going to condemn, but we're not going to condemn them now. Maybe later, but not now. To keep, it's an attractive nuisance, and also squatters. There are at least 1 or 2 squatters down there that are living in the trailers rent-free. So they're going to take care of that too, to get the squatters out. I told, he said we have to set that up so that we can charge them with breaking and entering if they don't leave. And so I said, well, if you need help from our police department, that we would give them help to get the squatters out. So we'll figure out the strategy for doing that. But things seem to be going well. Tomorrow I'm meeting with 2 individuals who, one of them, well, they're partners, and one of them owns the Shreve Trailer Park, and he's interested in buying this one. And I think Nate, you're planning on being down there at 10 o'clock?
Yes.
Yeah. I think they're going to present some sort of a rough plan on what they would have in mind to buy the trailer park. I would encourage council to consider tax incentives for the potential buyers for 2 reasons. First of all, that will give them an opportunity to get more capital to fix up the trailer park, because it's going to take capital to fix that place up. It's a mess. So they're going to have extra money for that. We need to incentivize them to do that through tax breaks, and we'll lose tax money now, but we'll gain tax money because the value of the property will hopefully skyrocket, which will in the future mean more tax money for us. Plus, they're only, Aaron Davis, who is the agent, said he believes there are only about 40 trailers that are occupied down there, and I think there could be, there are like 80 pads, so it's only half full. And so there are a lot of people, they could move in trailers, more low-income folks could move in there, which could eventually mean more income tax for the village. But I guess what I'm saying is, it might cost the village money in the short run, but in the long run, we will reap benefits. And it'll be a nice improvement for the village of Millersburg. That place is so visible, as you all know. People drive into town and they see that and they probably think, well, what kind of place is this? You know, that's a terrible place. And people going back by on the trail would think the same thing. That needs to be a nice place down there. For aesthetics, for the village of Millersburg, for the people who live there, you know, mostly. And I think the village should invest in that too, through tax breaks. I know that the two guys tomorrow that we're going to meet with, they're going to be presenting a plan that involves tax breaks. And now, does that mean we don't have the power to sell it? The receiver has the power to sell it. We don't. So if they present a good enough offer, the receiver could accept it and it's done. You know, and I'm hoping that it does sell that way. I'm hoping it does not sell on the courthouse steps, so to speak, through a sheriff's sale, because that will be the highest bidder. And we don't necessarily want the highest bidder. We don't want another Corey Woodruff that would be the highest bidder, but a terrible operator and have a terrible place down there for the residents. We want somebody we can work with, who will fix it up and keep it nice for the residents. And it might not be the top dollar that they can get out of it. I mean, we're not going to get the money, but it would be the best use of that property. We'll get paid. I mean, we're second in line after the county taxes, so we're definitely going to get paid. Then next is the First National Bank of Pennsylvania. Then after that is Bob and Cheryl Ling, who have the second mortgage. And if there's any money left over, then that would go to the owners, the members of the LLC, who, and we don't know who the members are at this point, because that's the way it is in Ohio. You name the statutory agent, but you don't have to name publicly, you don't have to name who the members are. Our friend Eric Vincent, you know, I don't know if you remember him, I spent quite a bit of time on the phone with him today. He wants to put together a proposal also to buy it, because unfortunately he and some other people put their life savings into the Millersburg MPH LLC, and if there's not any money after the two mortgages are paid, they've just lost their life savings. So he's trying to pull it out of the fire, and you know, he is such a good guy. He really is a super nice guy, and I trust him implicitly. He always delivered for us down there, but he was hamstrung by the guy who had the purse strings, the guy who had the money to do the repairs and everything that needed to be done, wouldn't give him any money. And that person, of course, is Corey Woodruff. Corey Woodruff is out of the picture. Nobody really even knows where he is. He's evidently got lots of demons that he has to fend off. So that's enough said about that. So those two things have taken up a lot of my time, okay? Which brings me to my next subject, and that is my legal bill. And I know this has been such a subject for gnashing of teeth. But this is the busiest in 28 years of being a solicitor. This is by far the busiest I have ever been as the solicitor for the Village of Millersburg. Now, I went over my hours last month, and I was authorized, when we, if you remember the last meeting, it was mentioned about the leave donation policy. I don't know if you remember that, where people within the village could donate their leave to a pool, and then anybody who needed that leave, who was out of leave, could draw against that. There are a lot of details to that. And so Nate and Matt and Chad and Kelly to a lesser degree, but they were really interested in me looking into that. So, but I was way out of hours. I had already, at that point, I had already gone over my hours to the tune of about $4,000 over my hours. Again, no charge, because, you know, I didn't have authority to go over, so I just knew I was donating my time. But on this, I said, I'm not going to donate any more time. You have got to authorize me to go over my time. So they did. Now, according to my contract, you have to be made aware of the fact that I went over my hours. So you're being made aware of that right now. I just explained to you the circumstances of why I went over my hours, because of everything that's going on in the Village of Millersburg. And that brings me to my next subject. I'm over my hours for this month already, okay? And that was as of this past weekend. That's how much work, you know, it was like, this is the 14th. It was like the 10th of the month and I was out of hours already. I'd already worked more than 20 hours. And I'm not willing to donate any more hours. So I emailed Nate, Matt, Chad, Kelly, and said, what do I do? I can't even go to the meeting on Monday night because I'm out of hours. I can't file the answer that we need to file. I can't do anything. So they authorized me to go over my hours. And I'm over my hours right now as I'm speaking to you. And I'm making you aware that I'm over my hours and the reasons why I'm over my hours. So every part of my contract is being complied with, which, by the way, before, in February, when I was accused of not following the contract, I followed it to a T. That was a false accusation, unfounded. I'm a professional, okay? I have never, in 48 years, been questioned about my bill. And now I'm being questioned about my bill. That is not treating a professional as a professional should be treated. I'm sorry, but it just isn't. I think, well, it's up to Nate. I'm not going to say anything more. I've done my duty. I've told you why I'm over my hours. I'll be over my hours for the whole rest of the month, and, you know, we'll go from there. Okay, that's all I've got. I think you can tell I'm tipped about this, and I should be, because I've been falsely accused and mistreated.
I'll go ahead and jump in here. I kind of planned on bringing this up a little later, but now's the time. So I authorized Bob it was the 11th when you emailed us about this situation. He's required to be at these meetings, at council meetings, any regular meetings, so he has to be here. We can't penalize him for that. The Millersburg mobile home case required an answer. I authorized that one. We're out 50,000 at least. We need to act on that. Aquaman has been looming. We need to act on that. So I authorized those 3 items. There was another item that was a police department issue. Matt authorized that one. I did. There's some other things that we've been talking about, the elementary school project. I don't know, Bob, if you agree 100%, it's not pressing at the moment, so I didn't feel that needed authorization to continue work.
Just for a second, Nate, I agree it's not an emergency, but I was going over the minutes of last year. Last January, Bob and Tom in council, it's in the minutes, said, this is January 2024, over a year ago. They said, it's time, we have to act now on this Millersburg Elementary School project. I'm not saying it's an emergency, but I'm saying there's a lot of work to be done on that.
I guess what I'm thinking, April, nothing's happening in April.
I agree.
So
I'm not disagreeing with you. I want to point out to council, there's a lot of stuff going on.
There is.
Important stuff.
So I think we've been handcuffing Bob is the best way I can think of it in my mind. He is a professional. We rely on him. Personally, he has gotten me way further than I deserve to be in my job. He's helped me way more than I can explain. He has done more for this village. He's saved our bacon a lot of times. I don't think it's fair to him to put the restriction on him that we do by that contract. And I think when that was devised, I kicked myself, should have been caught back then. I don't think that's a fair way to do business with your attorney, because there's no way to know what's gonna come up. He's dealing with utility issues, police department issues, administrative issues, zoning issues, personnel issues. I mean, there's a lot going on. We are busier than we've ever been. So I have some thoughts on ways we either amend his contract or my other, I'll get there. So my suggestion would be, if you want to keep a limit in place, these meetings don't count against his time limit. If he's required to be somewhere, you can't penalize him on his hours for that. And I also think that if we have an active lawsuit going on or an active case, he has to do what he has to answer the court. He has to answer discovery, all that stuff. I don't feel it's fair to handcuff him based on what he's required to do by an outside entity. So there needs to be something there to adjust. I think, and this is just something I came up with, hear me out before you react. If we eliminate the time limit completely, the trade-off would be we require Bob to email all the elected officials and administrative personnel at the end of the first and third week of each month with where he's at currently, what he's working on, and what his hours are. We meet the second and fourth, so that you'd get it on Friday. Next Monday, you could question things. It would be a bi-weekly check on what he's doing. The only time I could see that being a problem is June, July, August, when we only meet once a month. But phone calls can be made. Council can't act officially without a meeting, but administrative staff can. We can tell him, hey, hang on, let's wait till the next meeting if it's something that's not pressing. So that's my thought. I think just for simplicity's sake, eliminate the time limit and require a timesheet, basically, the first and third week of each month, or bi-weekly, however you want to look at it, if you want to go bi-weekly.
By the way, that's the way I keep time on a daily basis. Okay, so I have that. I have a timesheet for every day of the month, or every day that I work, which is usually just not every day. So I have that. It's just I write it down, I don't have it in typewritten form, but it's pretty easy to do that. So that's not a big deal.
Do you have any issues with those restrictions or
I don't,
guidelines, Bob?
no, because it's not burdensome. There needs to be accountability, I understand that, but to try to say that I have to do my job in 20 hours a month, it's just, Brent, it's just not possible. It really isn't. I don't know why that was implemented. I think, and I didn't say anything at the time just because I didn't want to make waves, but it's become unworkable. It really has. And I care about this village. I mean, I've donated about $5,000 in time over the last couple of months to this village because stuff needed to be done, but I didn't have any hours. But yeah, I'll be glad to do that, sure.
I mean, it's our responsibility to manage, not micromanage. And we can't allow the village to get in a position that something's not being answered because we're over this imaginary time frame. And, you know, if you would be on vacation, it was something that you would approve, I mean, we just can't do that. And if there's an issue afterwards, we'll deal with it accordingly. You know, have a discussion.
I'd like to add just one thing. Sometimes I come across questions, I'm still reasonably new at my position, and sometimes I have questions that I could probably really use Bob for, and I hesitate to do that, because I know that this issue is there, and so far it hasn't been anything that, well, hopefully, that I haven't messed up majorly, but there are some questions that I'd like to be able just to shoot at Bob, like the old days when we could do that. And with all the other things going on, I know that those things are more pressing, but I still ought to be able to ask him for legal advice. That is what I need to be able to rely on him for. So.
And we can't allow staff to feel that way, that one of the staff members can't reach out and get an answer when they think they need to get an answer or an opinion. And it's just asking for potential disaster to happen.
It shouldn't impact how you do your job,
Right.
having that
Right.
restriction.
I'll just give you one example. He doesn't even know about this one because I haven't asked him. But there's a way that we can eliminate or at least reduce the number of legal ads that we have to pay for to be published in the paper. We pass legislation, or I know other villages, you pass a resolution or an ordinance, I don't even know which it is, and then that lets us use alternative methods of publishing, meeting notices and legislation, things like that. So it's been thinking it for close to a year, and we probably spend, well, I don't know how much we spend on legal ads, but it's a way that we can cut back a little bit. So that's just one example. There's lots of things that I have questions about. So.
I agree with what you said, Nate, Tom. Bob, I know you love this village. There's never been any doubt in my mind, and I wouldn't want you to ever hold back, to assist anybody here in the village that needed any kind of professional feedback from you. So I'm glad you brought it up, and I think we need to move forward with, not holding back on, or not restricting Bob with the hours that he's been challenged with in the past.
Motion.
Yeah, please,
So
to amend the contract.
I make a motion to amend the contract and that Solicitor Hines will have us a timesheet the first and the third week of the month for us to review. And if anything outstanding happens in the meantime, staff can inform us.
Vaughn,
Aye.
Pullen, Shoemaker,
No.
Hostetler,
Aye.
Khan,
Aye.
Kellogg.
Yes. Is that good on Bob? Okay.
That's right. By the way, if you want to call me about any questions you have, feel free to do so. I'm glad to answer your questions.
Okay. So then, under mayor, upcoming committee meetings. So this Wednesday, which is April 16, right, is the Tree City. Now, she put down 6, but it's 4, right? Okay, so it's 4, Rodney. Okay. And then, any other committee meetings that anybody is scheduling or anything? Okay. And the report attached, is that the one that was for the park and cemetery report? Not sure when she put report attached.
Sometimes she has.
Oh,
she
okay,
actually
okay,
starts out.
okay. So then report of committees. So we kind of addressed park and,
So I don't know, do we want to talk about the handout that you circulated?
Or the,
We had a Parks and Cemetery Committee meeting last Monday. And we talked about the cemetery expansion. Nate, you can elaborate on this, but we moved, or we decided to move forward with getting some surveying done with regard to the expansion of Oak Hill Cemetery. Nate, if you want to piggyback on that.
it's in the
yeah.
committee
like-
minutes,
yeah.
the specifics. But we're not at a point where we're full, but we want to prepare for when we get closer to that.
We also talked about adding playground equipment. There's a picture of that circulated around here, and the committee decided to go with option number 1. There were 2 options. Option 1 was the bigger of the 2, and that park's been in need of an expansion of playground equipment for a while, and we decided to go with that option at a price of, was it 47?
47,591.35.
Okay. So I think we need to make a motion. Go ahead, Tom.
That, just to mention that also, our selection had a larger age,
Yeah,
appropriate
2 to
age
12.
use.
2-year-old to 12-year-old.
And it was also a commercial grade playground piece of equipment versus a residential, which was appealing to us too. So, yeah, thanks for mentioning the age issue on that. Does anybody have any questions about that? I'd like to make a motion to approve the purchase of that playground piece of equipment.
I'll make a motion.
I made a motion. Somebody want a second?
Oh, you made the motion.
Khan,
Aye.
Pullen, Shoemaker,
Aye.
Vaughn,
Aye.
We're waiting for you, Bob.
Hofstadter. Were you?
Aye.
I don't know. Hofstadter.
Yes.
Thank you. Also talked about the trail down at Airport Park. There's an opening in the trail. I think there's only one opening. If there's more than one opening, I'm mistaken, but there's an obvious opening. We'd like to incorporate a way to reduce the decline as you're coming off the trail or if you're entering from the park onto the trail. It's a pretty steep drop, and we'd like to make that a little bit more accessible to enter and exit off that trail. So that was another issue that we did talk about doing. I don't know that we need a motion to do that. Also talked about Clay Street Park, and we had a representative from the health department. I don't have her name. Jessica Bull. I'm sorry, thank you. And she was here, and there was the survey that the health department had done. We reviewed that, and at the time we decided there were a lot of cosmetic things that needed to be done down there at the park. The park down there has got older playground equipment, and so Pat Meller was here and he agreed to do some painting maybe this summer with some volunteers. So in addition to that, doing some landscaping down there. We also talked about getting an estimate from the parking area on Monroe Street going up the hill. So it's just really challenging to get up that hill without any kind of sidewalk that would be easier for people to walk to and from. So that's, I think, all we
Yeah, looks like it.
talked about.
Oh, sign. Talking to the church about maybe better signage to direct people that they
Yeah,
can
we
park,
did.
that they can park at the church lot. Anything else on committees? Okay, so we'll move on to legislation.
Do
Oh,
we have to
sorry.
make a motion to approve
Oh,
the minutes?
Typically do.
The-
Yeah, used to accept the committee minutes.
oh, okay.
Because I don't know that the committee actually approved of the minutes.
When
No,
do we approve them at the
Typical-
next meeting?
council
That's where I was
accepts their
confused.
committee report back to them.
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Vaughn,
Aye.
Kellogg,
Yes.
Shoemaker,
Aye.
Pullen, Hofstadter,
Aye.
Con.
Yes.
Okay, move on to legislation. First is the second reading of 2025-100, an ordinance amending the Millersburg personnel policy regarding police patrol essential functions. Next is the first reading of 2025-102, an ordinance approving an application for a designated outdoor refreshment area, DORA, and establishing a DORA in the village of Millersburg, Ohio. Is that good?
Yeah.
We're gonna do the second reading at the next,
Doing the second and third. at the
second and
next
third at the
meeting.
next meeting.
So the vote will be at,
Yeah,
the next meeting.
okay. Then we're moving on to 2025-10, an emergency resolution authorizing participation in the ODOT road salt contract awarded in 2025. The first reading is title only. Then we'll need a motion to suspend the second and third reading, and then a motion to pass and adopt.
I'll make a motion to, no.
Wait.
To suspend, yeah.
I'll second his motion.
That would be a motion to waive the second and third readings, by the way. Shoemaker,
Aye.
Vaughn,
Aye.
Pullen, Hofstadter,
Aye.
Con,
Aye.
Kellogg.
Yes.
I'll make a motion to pass.
Motion second.
Take your pick.
Hofstadter,
Aye.
Pullen, Shoemaker,
Aye.
Vaughn,
Aye.
Con, Kellogg.
Yes. Good on that. Then we're moving on to old business. So the sale of the retired police cruiser by motion. So Brad, you'll be,
Yeah, by the authority of the Ohio Revised Code, section 4582.121, I hereby make a motion to sell as is 2017 Ford Explorer Cruiser previously used by the Millersburg Police Department, which is no longer needed for village use, to Holmes Fire District 1 without competitive bidding and on mutually agreeable terms of $4,125. That's my
Second.
motion.
I'll second.
Con,
Aye.
Hofstadter,
Aye.
Shoemaker,
Aye.
Vaughn,
Aye.
Pullen, Kellogg.
yes. So we addressed Solicitor Hines Hours Troyer, and then the council rules. So I had brought up at the last meeting wanting to review our council rules, which we never did say when they were written. You just said they were written around the time of the Historical Society. Do we remember when,
When were you mayor?
was Dave mayor?
I think he was.
I know at the bottom of the version, the only.
Does it
version I
say?
have is 2004.
Okay, so 21 years ago. For example, Bobby thought there was ideas of her idea, a form, you know, for committees. I had brought up that we don't follow the form. And Bobby and I talked about that it would be nice that if we could know ahead of time who's coming to count the visitors that are coming, we can know what they're addressing, so that's just following.
Well, we could make that available on the website and make it more known. Because you still have informal discussion that's limited to a minute for people that just come in.
Well, and I had suggested forming a committee, which would be up to the mayor if she wants to appoint a committee. I mean, for example, I'll give you an example and I, you know,
I guess we were trying to figure out how many changes we were talking
Well-
about, whether they would just be decided, because they're gonna come back here anyhow. and if
right,
there's
yeah,
only
we
a few
all would
minor
get to
changes,
decide, but the committee
just-
could decide. Here's an example. So I wasn't sure. When the mayor had called me and told me that I'd be running the meeting, she thought I didn't have a vote today. So I read the Attorney General's as President Pro Tempore about a vote. But if you go to our rules of the village, and it just says, some of these things I feel weren't explicit enough. So it'll just say, this one, President Pro Tempore. At the first regular meeting or organizational meeting in January of each year, council shall immediately proceed to elect a President Pro Tempore from its number, who shall serve until the first meeting in January next after his election. When the mayor is absent from the village or is unable for any cause to perform his or her duties, the President Pro Tempore shall be the acting mayor and shall have the same powers and perform the same duties as the mayor. So I don't know if there's confusion. I'm not really the acting mayor. So how that's written is confusing. So I just think some of these things, another example, if we go to executive session and it addresses, council may adjourn to executive session to exclude the public to discuss and consider matters or personnel, purchase or lease of personnel or real property, pending or imminent court action, collective bargaining, confidential matters, and security arrangements. Confidential matters is not just going into executive session and bad-mouthing people or anything like that. It's defined by G5 in the Ohio Revised Code, which has to do with federal and state laws. So it has to do with specific, it even goes more into all members of council have fiduciary duty to keep confidential all matters discussed in executive session. Well, that matters are according to federal and state. It's not just, it's defined confidential. So that could be put into the rules explaining what confidential matters are. That G5 that I read to you is out of the Ohio Revised Code. Matters required to be kept confidential by federal law, regulations, state statutes. And it goes through what all those are.
We could just make that an attachment.
Yeah. I see. So you see, to clear things up.
As opposed to making it part of the rules, make it an attachment to the rules. Bob, would you agree?
Yes, I agree. Getting back to the issue on whether we need a committee, it's your call completely. It's sort of a big deal. We only do this once every quarter of a century. So it's a good idea to get it right.
And it says it in the rules. Rule 31 of our thing
Oh,
says,
does it say?
yeah.
Some of those rules need to be
31
updated.
says amendments. These rules may be amended or altered, or new rules adopted by a vote of the majority of all the members elected at any meeting of the council on the report of a committee to which the subject has been referred at a previous meeting.
There you go.
So the mayor asked if we would make that part of the personnel committee rather than establishing another committee.
I think it should be its own meeting, but she's the mayor, so
Pardon?
I think it should be its own committee. Or
But
rules
it's not gonna
committee.
be a standing committee that's gonna go on forever. She said
Right.
we're gonna make a special committee, just
Yeah.
make it part of the personnel committee to review
Oh,
this.
that's a good idea. And she would decide,
Pardon?
she would make the appointments of who's on the committee. I'm
It's a
assuming.
personnel committee.
So just into the personnel committee?
Yeah.
Okay,
She asked if I would mind making that part of the personnel, or
okay.
handling it if we needed to have it. So I guess my suggestion would be, if it's gonna be on, as part of the personnel committee, that by the next council meeting, everybody gets any suggestions you have to me,
Okay,
and then we can decide if we need to schedule a meeting, or if we're just gonna amend a few things at a council meeting, which it's gotta come back to council anyhow.
right.
I'll be happy to manage that, and then if I'm, work with
Yeah,
Bob
I think you
with
should
any
work, I think that
questions.
he should be involved. Did you write these the rules probably?
I think I did.
Okay.
I mean, you know, again.
21 years.
ago.
But I think, and it's to clear up things down there, for new, like being new, clarity would be good.
Tom, who's on that committee? Do you know?
Are you on it?
I have the list.
I think Tom, Brad, Devon,
Yeah,
Okay.
me, Bobby, Matt,
Oh.
Mayor, and Bob Hines.
so get stuff to you, that then you
Right.
guys would then, and then it would get, the next
We'll see
meeting.
we'll see what it is.
Okay.
Decide, if we're just making an amendment and a couple of minor changes, let's not have a committee meeting to do it, let's just simply, and I'll confer with Bob
And then I
and see
think
if
he should,
agrees
especially, yeah,
that we don't
I
need to
think
have
he
it.
should be involved in
Yeah,
the,
decide that we don't need to have, and actually, get that to me by, I mean, we've already had 2 weeks to look at it, if you could get it to me by this Friday, any changes you have.
this Friday.
This Friday. That way, it gives me a chance to work with Bob to decide what we need to do. And then if we need to schedule a meeting, we'll do it at the next council meeting. Because you've already had 2 weeks to sort of look at it from the last meeting, so.
Okay. By Friday, okay. So,
And if you have those references,
I
You
can
can
I
send
get you
those
what I
emails
talked
to me.
about? Okay.
make sense?
I think so. So then, new business, oh, go ahead.
I have one
Oh.
item for old business.
Okay,
I talked with Terry Loader about County Road 58, this is going back with you, Nate, about the athletic facility. So they are right now looking at what they want to do with those properties. So that may be available to us. And this is probably new business, but I'll put it on with the old business. Brody Diaz's wife, I don't know her name, I can't think of it.
Oh,
she was here.
Ally, I think.
Well, anyway,
Don't quote me on that.
she is talking with the YMCA up in Worcester and talking about us piggybacking off of them to build a YMCA here. I guess they're giving her a lot of options, what they've done to generate money. But with our representative here, I'm sure he can help us out.
Showed up right at the right meeting, didn't you?
I'll add it to the list.
Can I ask for clarification? I'm not sure, I apologize if I'm just being spacey, but you said County Road 58 and then you
Right.
said athletic facility. Can you explain a little bit more? I'm not sure what
Yeah,
you
we're
mean.
trying to find available property.
Okay,
And since, Larry died, the family's still a little bit in turmoil. They're trying to decide what they're gonna do with these properties.
okay, so it's
And I
that
guess-
existing property there.
Yeah.
Okay,
I mean, it'd be the closest thing to water and sewer from Autumn Run that could go to the facility. And my last new business, I don't know if you guys are familiar with Bronson Allison, Livermore? Well, I saw several of the things he's done on YouTube, and I'm thinking, isn't there something he could put together to sell Millersburg to attract business? So he come in and met with Kelly, it's probably been a month ago, and threw a price out to her And she is going to look to see where we could come up with these funds. I don't know, did she talk with you at all, Bobby?
She did. She mentioned applying for the county's bed tax dollars
Right.
for that. I believe the total that she told me, and this is not firm, I believe she said it's around $12,000.
Right, yeah, she texted me that.
Which
right.
obviously isn't in our, we don't have
Right.
that appropriated for this year, or I'm not sure where we would appropriate that from. We don't really have a fund for promotion. So yeah, if bed tax dollars could go toward that, the county bed tax dollars, and there could be other funding sources that she is looking into. I only know about the county bed tax dollars.
He alluded to, or she alluded to me, and she sent me his text, and he can work on the price.
Okay.
Has anybody seen what
He
he's
does,
done?
he does a good job.
He's
Yeah.
amazing.
He does a good job.
He's amazing. Didn't he do some things for the village of Millersburg? I thought he did some videos
He did
related
bicentennial.
to
Some of the restaurants, I
places to
believe,
eat, yeah.
yeah.
Which I'm sure those are all
I know he's
paid
recently did
Yeah.
something for the county.
He did bicentennial, he did 2 videos for bicentennial.
Yeah, he's phenomenal.
It wasn't cheap.
He did a retirement video for somebody that worked at probate and juvenile court. He did an amazing job. So, with the time that he had to put it together too.
Our
So,
bicentennial videos are great. You guys haven't seen the second one yet, but it's good too, so.
I'll
it's
ask
a
Chad,
good idea.
I'll ask Chad and Nate, would there be any grant money available for something like that?
Bed
Bed-
tax
bed
is
tax
about
is
the only thing I
probably-
can come up with.
You would get that probably quicker than,
I don't, Tiffany, do you know about grant money or Taylor, for specifically for promotions? I'm not aware of anything.
you're looking at just like marketing, that's what it would be.
We have, at the chamber, we have actually what we call a merchant council budget, and organizations like HDM apply, and this year we've actually added some dollars, I think you already have earmarked, for video or photo content, and then in trade, and we have access to that for our marketing, so.
Okay.
And the county bed tax, I believe, will be open in.
It opened back.
Oh, yes.
Oh, so timing would be.
What, can I put you on the spot, what kind of funding's available through the,
That's the commissioner, I mean, that the commissioner's solely.
no, you're the,
Oh, my funding.
yeah,
It's, well, we give $2,500 to HDM and then an additional $1,000 for video and photography. And on top of our support of their fireworks.
okay.
So, we're still on new business? I think we
I've
kind
got
of
an old
we
business.
went from old to new,
Yeah.
so I'm not sure, we are,
Yeah.
Bob switched us to new.
Yeah, I'm done.
Are you done with old and
Yes.
new?
And now,
Okay, so you wanna go now, and then
I
Brad
got
had,
one thing for old.
old, you're still old, okay,
I'm old.
you're
So we
old,
went into new business.
Kelly asked me to follow up.
okay.
Chris Neville was at the last meeting, asked about
Yes.
the handicap parking space. Is that something we want to proceed with? Chad looked into it, do you wanna, we didn't really find an answer of,
Yeah, I looked through probably 7 years' minutes, and GIS shows it. It was there in 21, or 20, it was there. And 21, it was gone,
Yeah.
so I could tell from the pictures. So at one point, you had one there. I kinda keep an eye on that area anyways, so there's a lot of there's open parking spots up and down through there, so you're not hindering yourself, I guess, if you do designate a handicap parking.
I've gotten a little bit of feedback from some of the residents there. She does not own a car.
I was gonna say, I got
Okay.
some of the same feedback from
Yeah,
some
we
of the
did.
neighbors, so
We did all as well, but
So can I mean,
doesn't mean you have to be handicapped or have a car to be handicapped, I guess is my point.
Right.
well,
And obviously, it's not her reserved spot, it's any placarded vehicle
Right.
can park there.
and she didn't come to the meeting asking.
No.
So this is my concern, and this has always been my concern. So I didn't, because I had said I wouldn't do this, so I don't know, a year ago, less than a year ago, we voted, or I didn't, to make a handicap spot on South Washington Street, and nobody ever parks there. And it came to my knowledge later that it wasn't for that person, it was for somebody else. So I don't know why people can't, if they want the handicap spot, why can't they come into the meeting and tell us? Instead of us just going by, they contact you and I mean, I feel there should be more due diligence, and if they really want it, then the person who's asking for it comes in and asks for it, and we hear from the horse's mouth and not from a son or from somebody else. That's my take on it.
Yeah, that's completely up to you guys.
Well, I guess if she doesn't actually drive, that means she is being driven, which means that what is stopping them from just stopping along the street to let her out close to the house and not needing a designated spot?
Better question.
He seemed more upset that he thought somebody had just taken the sign down. Which is what happens when you're putting signs up, taking them down, putting signs up, taking them down.
I believe the, part of that, didn't we get the information that she had left that residence? That was part of the reason why, I wasn't here, but I think in discussion. She had lived there, put that up, she had left, possibly that's why it was taken down.
I think he was asked specifically if she did live there, and he said yes. So whether she actually does or not, or if he just said that, I don't know, but I think he was asked directly about that.
Sounds like no action.
Good.
So no action on it, okay. Is that, Nate, was that the only other thing you had?
I had two more things for
Okay.
new business.
Are we on to new
I don't wanna
business now?
interrupt, but sorry.
Go ahead.
Okay. The mayor wanted to pass on a thank you to Millersburg Electric and the United Way of Wayne and Holmes County. They helped get electric service restored to a resident down at the mobile home park at the end of March. And then HDM is seeking committee members for their 4 committees: organization, design, promotion, and economic vitality. You can contact Taylor for more information on any of that. And I'm done.
You
Thank
sure?
Well, should be.
Okay, we didn't interrupt it. So then Brad, you wanted to,
So, it just recently decided that Holmes County was going to have their annual Peace Officer Memorial Service on May 16 at 2 p.m. on the courthouse lawn. In the event that we have bad weather, we'll take it into the Common Pleas courtroom, which is on the 3rd floor of the courthouse. We have 2 banners. I would ask council if we can get the approval to put one of the banners at the Y by the sign. I don't know exactly where we can figure that out.
need a motion? Or do you just put
We
it
need a
there?
It's our
motion,
property.
just
Yeah.
consensus to,
What we want?
does council have a problem if we put a banner down there at the Y?
I think it's a good idea.
Probably put it up maybe a couple weeks before the service.
If you just wanna let me know or chat, whatever, we can
Sure.
get a
Thank
hold
you.
of it and get
Sure.
that taken care of.
Thank you.
Was that at 1, you said 1 p.m.?
1,
2 o'clock.
2
2,
o'clock,
May
sorry.
16 at 2.
How long would you like that up, Brad?
You know, I'm thinking 2 weeks. So probably here in the next couple weeks. The banner gets changed every year because of the day. So I have to get the new date put on there, and then I'll reach out.
And certainly you can have as long as you'd like, I just
Sure.
kind of wanted that as
Okay.
cruising.
I'll reach out and communicate that with you or Nate. That's all I had.
Any other new business?
Did we do that, officer last year?
We did.
It was
Did we?
inside.
Can't
It
remember.
was inside,
It was
Bob.
inside.
It
Yeah.
rained all day.
I know, when Tom was chief, it was really moving, it was nice, the memorial service.
Thanks. Yeah, we put a lot of time into that, and it's a well-deserved meeting, and we were out a few years because of COVID,
Right,
unfortunately.
right.
So,
Any other new business? Anything any visitors would like to discuss or say? Okay, so I need to make a motion to go into executive session. It was nice for all of you to show up. Oh, I'm sorry, to consider the employment of a public employee, and we need to invite and we need to make a motion to who all is going to be in the meeting. Just name, so we're including council, Nate, Bobby, and Chad will state, and Matt, and who else?
Bob can stay.
Oh, yeah, Bob, yeah.
That's something.
So Devon made a motion.
Second.
I missed that. I'm ready to go. Sorry. Poland, Hofstadter, Shoemaker,
Aye.
Vaughn.
I lost control.
Bueller.
I lost total control of the meeting.
Leave it on.
I lost total control.
Okay, Vaughn, it's your vote.
Aye.
Aye. Okay.
I didn't
Come
want to miss
on.
an opportunity.
Kellogg.
Yes.
All right, thank you.
I think he wants to call him afterwards, but he